Welcome to the Doom Kitchen. This is not a news show. It's a talk show. We do not give financial, legal, medical, or any kind of advice. We are not responsible for the actions of our listeners. You are responsible for you. If anything offends you, we were only joking. Promise.
Welcome to the Doom Kitchen. Back with me again is Mr. Toons of the Union of the Unknowns. My audio just got weird in my headphones, so I hope that's not translating to you guys. Hey, welcome in, Toons.
Sound good on my end.
That's good. Okay, good. Yeah, I had an entire show that I recorded, and the air conditioner was just jamming in the background, and that's all I could hear anytime I talked. It really upset me, but I hope everything sounds good. Welcome to the show, Toons.
Yes, 603 represent New Hampshire. How are we?
Nice. Very well. I'm in the land of Illinois right now, and things are all right here. Considering that it's run by a little goblin. And
that's it. I mean, she is a goblin, eh? There's some pictures, some still shots of her that are like, whoa, yeah.
Scary goblin with a penis reportedly larger than that of the Italians. That's what Mr. Lightfoot said.
I haven't heard that one yet.
But we're gonna get into masculinity and femininity and all the other fun with that later. But first tell me a little bit about the Union of the Unknowns and how people can tune into that.
Yeah, I'm fortunate that some talented people allow me to talk on that podcast. The feed is Union of the Unknowns. I get it on Google Podcasts. I think it's pretty available across the board, but it's a group that formed out of the Propaganda Report Discord, and we were all fans of Monica Perez, and over the years I've actually gotten relatively close with a bunch of those guys. The Union of the Unknowns do a weekly news show, which is great, and then there's a weekly topic-based show. So yeah, check us out.
Yeah, it's kind of like this show in the formatting where you talk about current events in one show and then you talk about stuff in the other show. And I really enjoy you guys from what I've heard. I haven't listened to every single episode yet.
There's some real diversity too in the true aspect. We have a old timer. Sorry, Terry. I mean that with respect. He's a Brit living in the Canary Islands, which is Spain. And he has great perspective. And then we have Stella, who's an Australian, and then a couple of people over here stateside. Good perspective across the board.
Yeah, the other thing is y'all are into all the shows that I'm into, so that makes it awesome.
We were all getting together, Friday nights we used to do a DP after party. A DPP, a disappearing patron party with Monica Perez, and then we would do an after party, and the conversations were very interesting. So that just kind of said, hey, why don't we just press record and release it? Yeah, fun stuff.
That's like the guys I was hanging out with yesterday. We were talking about my show, and I said, it's an alright show, but and he's like, yeah, it's basically if you're having a really cool conversation, you record.
That's it. Yeah,
and that's really what podcasting is. It's you're having a conversation, you press record, you're a little bit presentable. Yeah, you do the media things, as much of the media things, you don't outright lie to the people like the media does, but you do the media thing. Like, hey, this is this guy from this. Hey,
I will say your program has great intro, outro, and very crisp presentation. So I do enjoy that about your show.
Oh, thank you. I used artificial intelligence slave to make the intro, outro music for these shows, but my friend Rob Brisky from the Black Labs podcast made the news music montage that I use, Burn Babylon Burn. So that's always fun. It's very quiet in the background, but it's there, and it's super cool because I just said, hey, I want this kind of sound and make it a little bit like this, and he came back with something that was absolutely perfect. It's
Beauty.
just cool that yeah, I would prefer to have Rob on my side than the AI robots, because I know we're gonna fight them one day, and I'm gearing up for robot war. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but we gotta fight the robots. That's the real big problem coming up.
I would be surprised, honestly.
They made them like AT-AT walkers, so we already learned from Star Wars when we were very little kids how to take those down. So all we need is Ewok friends.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the topic.
Oh
yeah. What is a man?
Yeah. I appreciate that. This has been burning me for months. But if you allow me to, let me set the table real quick. I'm a new father now. I have a daughter. She's 4 months old, and since then, I mean, well, since I got married, it kind of pulled me out of that, eternal 16-year-old mindset, and now I'm like thinking big time in the future. I take the toxic masculine perspective that I'm responsible, for my daughter's life until she finds a man to get married, and she starts her own family. And as a man and as a father, it horrifies me, the state of Zoomers and even my peer group. I'm 30 years old, and I look around and I don't see very many impressive men. And that's a scary thing. If you like civilization, if you like any sort of order, I mean, it's pretty scary to me, the state of society in general. And I think that's firmly because we live in a very weak society, masculine wise. Men are very weak, so I think women are trying to take that role, and even the strongest woman is not a man. End of the day, it's
Right.
we serve specific purposes, and that's the beauty of nature. That's why we're here, because depending on your perspective on our ancestors, but call it 1,000 generations ago, the man went out and grokked the food, and the woman stayed home and raised the children and kept the home clean. I mean, that's the way it always was. That's the way it should be. And it horrifies me, the state of men, my peers. I mean, even boomers. It's embarrassing. But just going forward, how do we keep the lights on? How do we? What was the city in Mississippi where they don't have running water? And I think that was more affirmative action caused. But I mean, it's just expect a whole lot more of that. I don't know if you look around and see that. In your industry, are there younger men getting in? But
what I'm seeing a lot of these days is import, and I don't see a good reason to import somebody from another country to drive a truck. I think here can drive trucks. If you're going to bring somebody from another country, I think that they need to really have something that they can offer your country. And maybe that's the old school immigration thought, but at this point, I would just shut immigration off 100% and just say, hey, we're full right now. We got a lot of problems we got to fix, and then we'll maybe think about it later. But
yeah, I mean, for that and many other reasons, but I agree. I don't deal with trucking as much, but we'll get deliveries to our shop here and there, and you're right. It's always, Russian immigrants or, straight off, sub-Saharan Africa, dark guys that, none of them speak English. And I appreciate it that you're here, but it makes it a lot harder to do anything. There's that cultural language, just mindset barrier that makes just life harder. And if there's no, I mean, that's not a solution long term. We're going to import from now till forever. I mean, and then what,
Well, when you're importing jobs like this, that
Right.
what I consider the jobs that I've done mostly throughout my life is I'm an operator. I operate a machine, so I'm operating this vehicle that is getting me from one place to another. Back whenever I started everything, I operated a cash register whenever I was in high school, and then I operated a board whenever I was in radio. So I was running a show. So these operator kind of jobs, I really don't. I don't think you need people to come in and do those. Those are for people. Those are for the working class people of your country. When you get somebody, you're like, oh, that's a doctor. We could use that doctor. We could use this or that. Somebody that has something that is bringing extra with them.
Let me see if I can articulate this thought too. Culturally, the men that work with their hands, that work in real life, that's going to form your personality. That's going to form your mindset. If you're sitting behind a desk typing in a computer, you're not living in the real world. That's not real life. You're not experiencing reality like I do, or you do. You're not. My alarm goes off at 3. I have to be up. I have to leave the house by 3:30. I have to be tangibly in the world. I work in construction, so we have to build buildings. It has to be, end of the day, it has to function, and that breeds a different kind of person than if you're a TikToker doing fucking whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I think culturally that bleeds through.
And so, I used to, for years in radio, I went to college for it, and I'm sitting there in the building listening to shows that I don't like. I was way into 9/11 theories. So I was big into Alex Jones back then, and then I had to listen to Sean Hannity for several hours a day and stare out the window. And so I stared out the window all the time, and decided that I was going to go somewhere and do something. And I ran off to New Zealand for a year. That was really cool. But I was also an operator whenever I was over there visiting. I had a temporary visa. But see, I think those are fine. But when you're importing, you're like bringing somebody to like go build their life in your country so that they can just run something. I don't see that as.
And no shade on any blue collar guys, but I think any of us would agree that it doesn't take a superhuman level of genius to be able to do our jobs. It takes heart. It takes commitment. It takes strength. And maybe that's downstream of how I'm seeing Zoomers and millennials is there's no strength, there's no balls to any of it, because you can roll out of bed at 9 o'clock and work from home on your computer, and you're not doing anything tangible in the world.
Yeah, you never see the sunshine. You never get your feet on the grass.
Yeah, you never cut your finger, and
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary to me. I was talking to one of the guys I work with, and I'm like, what happens when we retire? Do you think 20 years from now there's going to be a kid and that's ready to do what we do? We're in the mud and in the elements.
Yeah. So as far as the generations that we see right now, we can see that, but I think that the whole hard times make strong men thing is real. It's something that happens, and we've seen that cycle. You can look throughout history and see whenever the weak men create hard times like we're dealing with right now, and I think we have more of that cycle.
Yeah. I mean, that rings so true. I mean, So can we blame the boomers for this?
I mean, we got to blame the boomers for everything. But I went to a restaurant yesterday, and there was a whole bunch of boomers there, and I have no interest in them. They freak me out. There's something really weird going on with those people.
I haven't even interacted with any of them because all of our fresh blood are like, mid late 20s, and a lot of guys will go into construction because they went to college and they don't feel like working at Starbucks. So that's a mindset in itself. But yeah, I mean, I started my working full time 3 days before I graduated high school. I was working. I did landscaping, but it was back then there was old timers, and the young guys grinded because the old timers knew the skills or whatever. But I don't even see that anymore. There's very little new blood in the construction industry, at least.
So we've got all this economic hardship headed our way, and the funny part about all of that is that it seems that we've insulated an entire generation from ever having to actually do anything. That's insane.
It's very scary. Yeah. Because what skills are you learning in college, after college, as I don't even know what to call it. You're pressing numbers on a screen. I mean, unless the AI fully takes over.
Oh yeah, it's not going to fully take over, but it's going to be in everything. It'll be. I've been hearing about the AI chat thing, and people are using it basically as a search engine, and I can already see that being the search engine. Just the way people are with their Alexas and all their other stuff, their Magic Genie.
Yeah. I mean, I find it myself too, like as much as I try to avoid using technology, I feel like I don't truly know things anymore because I have Google. I don't have to truly know anything. It's just it's kind of like, if I'm interested in something, I can Google it, great. But it's kind of in one ear and out the other because I don't have to truly learn it. It's just it's almost like a quick reference, I mean, even like, MapQuest or Google Maps or whatever. I mean, you don't truly ever learn directions. You don't truly ever learn a lot of things that you Google know it. You don't know it, to where,
Yeah.
I don't know, if I go back, I said this to one of my cousins, that I prefer to live like my grandparents did rather than how my grandchildren are expected to. But everybody acts like the older generations were, oh, they were dumb and backwards. But I'm like, they knew how to, make dirt into food. Like they knew skills. They knew the old time ways. They got through it without any of this technology. We're useless. If I didn't have the internet, if we didn't have the internet, we'd be useless.
Yeah, I was raised by my grandmother, and it's really interesting how old people are, the way that they don't throw things away.
Yeah.
So us, we're just toss it out, get it out of the way, and there's old people save packaging.
Right.
It's kind of funny because all of this stuff is going to end up being rare one of these days. Whenever, well, maybe not. Maybe we can keep going on this print money, and the impending doom just never comes. It's just it just impends, and the that's what I'm starting to think, is that they just impend doom the whole time, and it never comes. It's
yeah, the psyop. The psyop is for us to be scared that it's all gonna collapse. So we spend our time talking about prepping, and yeah, it's just psyops on psyops on psyops. Yeah.
Yeah, when they get us, it'll be a click of a button, probably. That's what I think the reason why there's graphene in the clots that they gave everybody is that they just want to wire them for the 5G to just get them to do what they want them to do.
Get them on their hive grid. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to build the harness for the to put the leash on the
yeah,
slave.
right.
Here's the harness. Put it in their system, but yeah. So with this culture and this society and everything that we're building, and we've got things where they won't say mother and father anymore. They're destroying the language, and then they've got these crazy ideas like chest feeding and talking about artificial wombs and all kinds of really just sick, twisted stuff with humanity. And people are into, some of these people that are into it, like people that the bugmen that read the Yuval Noah Harari books are way into this kind of stuff.
I know, cold take, but yeah, I mean, this is 1984, doublethink, I was just saying today in the Telegram that we're on is the idea that gender affirming care is cut, hack, and snip rather than, oh, this boy feels a little feminine, maybe we should give him some testosterone. Like, wouldn't that be gender affirming because he's a little boy? Like,
yeah,
it's just full upside down.
That makes so much more sense. It's
or at least try it before you start hacking shit off. I mean, geez.
Yeah, that's the picture that I used for the Odyssey thumbnail is from some magazine with this guy wearing a wig, and he's got an infant on his chest, and it's just, I feel so bad for that baby, and it's just, this is the world that they're trying to make for us.
And in between this psyop and like the mask psyop, be scared of the air. Say you were 3, 4, 5 years old in 2019, and now you're 7, 8, 9, 10 in 2023. You think boys or girls, Latinx and be scared of the air because you're gonna kill everybody unless you hide your face. I mean, I don't think this goes away. That is a generational wound that when their grandkids, if they have them, which I doubt they will, look at them and they say, oh, why are you so proud of the gay flag rather than whatever state flag, country flag? I mean, this lingers,
Yeah, this is going to echo for a long time, and man, I haven't contributed in that way. I haven't made human with another person, so or another woman, or a woman, another, because I can't do that. Hey, by the way, y'all can't do that. It just doesn't work. No, so I haven't found a woman. I've dated many women, but I've just, I've gone for the crazy ones and been really excited about those, and gotten bored with the nice girls. And I know why I'm in this situation. It's all me. I'm the unifying factor in all of these things. It's, I must not have wanted it enough, is really the thing.
Let me ask you, do you think you got psyops? Because
yeah,
I remember when I was a kid, it was like, it wasn't cool to be responsible, and the last thing you wanted to be was like good at school, good at whatever, strive for greatness. It was lame to try,
Right. I ran off and went hitchhiking for years, and rode my bike all around the country, thinking, hey, all these experiences were the things that I valued. And I did. I got a lot of experiences, and it's one of the reasons why I have a life that I can share with people. But at the same time, I missed out on the things that I think really make people and men. And I need to find that. But at this point, the women market is, I've got to find a woman that hasn't taken the vaccine, doesn't sleep with her stepdad or dogs or anything sick like that I see on Twitter every single day with all that, then I also I would prefer a woman that doesn't have a cam show. There's so many of these things that are just all these
just
factors that are
narrowing. Yeah,
disgusting. Yeah, and it's all my fault. I know that it's my fault because I was there and I missed opportunities, and I tried to pursue opportunities that weren't opportunities. There were opportunities at making matters worse for myself, and of course I was interested in that at the time. But yeah.
I mean, hindsight's 20/20 for everybody. But
oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that's an active top-down approach? Because the way I see it is through media, entertainment, just culture in general. I mean, we all know that even music artists are chosen. The genre that you listen to was probably chosen. I know it was really cool back in the day, but it was probably chosen by somebody and put out there for a reason.
Oh yeah, I was a high school goth.
Yeah, I was a metalhead.
Everybody
Yeah,
had those. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I mean, we listen to the cool music, but I think most music is curated.
I think that there's kind of just places that people are meant to fall in, and even the rebellion against the mainstream is so this side is meant to fall this way, that side's meant to fall that way, and then just in general, everything is meant to confuse you, and one of the reasons, the big reasons I would say that I lived my life the way that I did up to this point is that I was living for most of that without any sort of North Star. I hadn't found Jesus yet, and so I'm sitting here pursuing all of these worldly things and trying to be a worldly person, and I'm trying to kick the world out of me, but I'm still very much I'm very tied to the world, and that's a thing that I'm working on solving at this point.
Yeah, and I think any sort of like tradition or link to the past or the old ways was always said, it was always, that's lame, that's square, that's whatever you want to call it, that's old fashioned. We get to the new stuff,
right?
Which is insane to me, because there's a way that the world is, and there's consequences for, I mean, across the board, living hedonistic though. I mean, and that's how, I mean, I have a face tattoo. I mean, I was living hedonistic for a long time.
What do you think snapped you out of it?
My wife, thank God. But yeah, for whatever reason, I had this instinct of like, I want to be in control of my own destiny, more or less. I was like a stubborn, rebellious, I can do it myself kind of guy, and I had, for whatever reason, I had this idea that I wanted to grow, raise, or hunt 100% of my food. So because of that, I bought a house in the woods, and because of having a house in the woods, and thankfully I met my wife, it kind of put me on a more like natural, it's connected to the land, I guess, and then once I started raising chickens and having a garden and being responsible for dogs and wife and chickens, and I can't go out and be a barfly anymore, and that kind of pulled me out of, I guess, the psyop.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense.
This was really weird.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
But I went out. I was visiting home. I had some time off, and I was visiting my hometown, and I went out to the bar that I used to go to all the time, and it it was weird because it was like it was looking at the same place with the same shenanigans, the same kind of people, everything, but with completely different eyes. It was the place that become really one of the things that appealed to me about it was how disgusting it was, and now I'm like, this is disgusting. So
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, yeah. I couldn't tell you like a specific moment, but like I agree. And at the time, whatever, I was a biker metalhead, having fun. And I don't like, it's not like I regretted them, but now I'm like, I would never live that life in 1,000 years. I couldn't tell you. And that's the other thing that's funny too, is like I have buddies that are still living that, like, construction worker, grumpy biker life, and whatever, power to you. But um, I just don't understand how you can keep that up. It's very weird to me.
yeah, and it's weird how all that stuff that meant so much doesn't mean anything
Yeah,
at all.
yeah,
And I remember whenever I was going to bars all the time, that uh, that you every day there was kind of a reset that happened yesterday, that happened last week, and all of the drama just kind of died down that way, because everybody had their soma, they have their
yeah.
drink in front of them.
Right. And you're not building towards anything. You're building towards the buzz, and then you go to bed, and then you go to work, and then you're right back at it. I agree. Yeah, there's a time scale. I mean, I guess that's just, time preference, right? We were living in a short time preference lifestyle, so we have short time preferences.
Yeah, aiming for self-destruction,
Yeah.
and that's not anything that the world needs, and it's not anything that leaves you with anything. I'm in my early 40s at this point, and I know it's not over for me. It's just that I know that my options are limited based off of what I talked about before, but also based off of my job. I'm in a truck most of the time. At least in my position, since I fly around a lot with it's a weird kind of position within trucking, but at least I have that. But still, it's finding the right stuff in this kind of lifestyle is even difficult.
Right. It's hard. Yeah. You haven't really truly planted your feet anywhere to like build. Yeah.
Yeah, and where do I get the time once I do?
Right.
I'm looking at houses and everything, and I know that I'll probably spend about uh 12 days a year at them. So,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
but I want something for later. I want something for when things get crazy. I want someplace for all of my things.
Yeah. Some land in the woods somewhere. I've
Yeah,
been dying because I'm on 5 acres right now, and I came from the city. And when I bought 5 acres, I was like, oh my God, I got so much land. But now that I'm starting to work it, and trying to plan out what goes where, I'm like, I wish I had 50.
right. That's funny. That you probably were overwhelmed with five in the beginning,
It felt like I had a whole city block. Yeah, yeah. But now I'm like, oh, I gotta be very smart with every inch of grass.
Interesting. Yeah. So how do you think that things change? Is do we just have to go through the cycle? Do we have to get more Trudeaus in there to ruin
That's what
things? Or
I talk myself back and forth on this. Um, do we want it to get worse before it gets better? Because I'd rather live through hard times if it's just hard times, then it's a reset. But how long are the hard times? I guess I would float. Um, because hard times could last 1,000 years, uh, depending on what time frame you believe in. But um, yeah, it's a big question.
yeah, we won't see the end of it.
Yeah,
So we might not ever see the end of hard times in our and this isn't hard time.
I agree.
This is
Yeah.
this is the weak men part.
Yeah.
And men are probably getting weaker.
And I would say just the start of that part too. I mean, nobody's going hungry unless they're, in very dire straits, but we still haven't seen it. And I was expecting to see it right when lockdown started. I had thoughts of, famine and riots, but still haven't really come around. I mean, there's been a little bit of riots, but that was kind of controlled up.
Kind of funny that we look at our childhood and think that was probably that was the greatest times, and how they sell us our nostalgia from those days just so that we can look back at all of this stuff, and most people are eating that up, but they don't want to bring things back like guys like us would rather just go back to the life that we had in the 80s, more simple thing. Like I was just talking to Kristen a couple of weeks ago on the show about life before cell phones and everything, and just going back to the 80s, 90s style of things, and probably even further really is to, if you really want to fix the problem, you'd have to go back over 100 years, I'm sure. But just all these people, they're trying to push toward the stuff that the bad guys want. They want to push toward the free healthcare that really is just they euthanize you for free is the end result of that. We saw it in Canada. We know how that game works, and they want to push toward all of their needs being met by the government, which is we've seen that model before, and it didn't go well. And instead of pushing back to times whenever men could win.
Right. What drives me nuts is, you're everybody references, 80s, 90s when before, like right before cell phones, when we, peak consumer, well, we had close to peak consumerism and close to somewhat normal societal norms, but even at that point, like I think it was already fucked.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Just because I mean, I was born 92, so like my I don't know, coming to age is probably mid late 2000s, and nobody was talking about marriage, house, X, Y, and Z. It's all go to college and get blackout for 4 years. And like the amount of rot that just hedonism. I mean, degeneracy is disgusting to me.
And so this is interesting because I'm helping out a friend right now, dealing with some paperwork for his divorce, and I'm starting to think that maybe it was really the divorce thing. Like once families started splitting, that I'm a product of divorce. I know so many people that are, and maybe that's what is causing a lot of these issues.
I mean, it's caused a whole lot of issues in the Black community for sure. I mean, the single parent household, daddy welfare. I mean, just
my nephews, they have Black fathers who are not fathers. They don't even know them. They've never really met them. So there's the make a kid and completely abandon it.
How does a boy turn into a young man into a man without any male role models? It's just maybe this is what the tranny shit is too. I mean, it's another attack on, we can't have men in the household. We can't have strong men to say, no, stop. This is complete horse shit. That's enough.
Right. So they create these little paths. Like it's just like the paths that they made for us whenever we were students. I'm going to be a rebel. I'm going to join with this group or that group, and it's kind of all by design. But now the pathways are ridiculous. They're just insane stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a polyzerzim.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a cat today. Yeah.
Right.
So I go back and forth depending on, you know, what my mood is, but they're actively poisoning us with the American diet, with the American lifestyle. So that would be more like physical body poison. But then there's the mental warfare that we've been going over, is just, you know, the media and just cultural rot. And I keep going back and forth, but there is something tangible to both of those. I don't know. Do you put more weight in one or the other?
I think it's just multi-front. Every single thing that they could possibly do to disrupt, they're doing all of it. And maybe one person is running one side of that agenda, another person's running another side, but they're all being very successful. Or maybe it's not a person that's the head of all of this. It's probably a group, and they use their power to disrupt everything that could possibly be a threat to their power.
Yeah, the Leviathan always crumbles forward. Yeah. But I just look at some of the things that even like the construction guys that work with their body all day, what they eat, you know, it'll be like Twinkies at coffee break, and like, you know, a meatball sub at 9 a.m. And I typically do the intermittent fast game. It's just, it works best for my body. And when I say I don't eat during the workday, everybody looks at me like I'm a psycho, and I'm like, bro, you don't need 4,000 calories at 9 a.m. Like, that's not healthy.
So I started doing stuff like that because of trucking job. If you eat so I used to be a bike taxi, so I would, you know, ride people around to concerts and baseball games and things like that. And so I was on a bike all the time and constantly moving, and I would eat 5-6 times a day. And now I only need to eat once, and if I eat more than once, I kind of pay for it by getting fatter.
Yeah. But on top of that, like, if you actually look at a food label, like, there's a lot of shit in food that just isn't food. Like, just all the preservatives and, you know, X, Y, and Z, red dye 40, whatever you want to call it, you know. And I do my best, but I'm still not great. I'm aware of it and I try to avoid it. But, you know, my wife just started making homemade bread, and bread's not supposed to last more than, you know, a day or two. But you buy a loaf at the store and it's 5 months old and it's still like good, I guess. You know, that's not food, you know?
Yeah, so I recover trucks from people that haven't been driving for a while. So the truck has been sitting there for at least a week before I get a call on it, right? This recent one that I went to recover, I open up the cabinet and there's a loaf of bread, maybe 4 or 5 slices have been taken out, but it looks like a brand new loaf of bread. There's no sign of mold or anything on it.
Yeah. And I just go back to the story. I don't know if you remember this, but Subway was sued because they had like pieces of yoga mat in their rolls. And I'm like, all right, Subway got caught, but like, how about every one of these other food brands that, you know, makes bread or whatever you want to call it? I mean, pick whatever product. You know, there's a lot of shit that's in food that's just not food, you know?
Yeah, I just saw an image. I don't know if this is real or not. It was hilarious though. But somebody was saying that that in this country, I can't remember which country it was, but they can't get access to their hormone replacement nonsense. So they're boiling shopping bags and injecting the shopping bags. So there's estrogen in the shopping bags. Well, the shopping bags touch your hands, they touch your food, and you know, and what, plastics on everything's in all these, and plastic. I mean, this is plastic. I got plastic
Yep.
touching all the time.
Yep.
I bet the
I mean,
shirt is plastic. I
yeah,
don't know how
plastic
much of
water
it is.
bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean that it's so omnipresent. Like there's almost, I mean, there is no avoiding it unless you're gonna live on a farm and raise everything yourself, you know? Scary.
I think we should all do that.
It's a lot of fucking work, man.
Yeah, but we should all do it.
This is my 4th year, and I've been trying to like add a little, you know, whether it's improve my garden or add chickens or add ducks. And this year I'm gonna do bees, which is pretty exciting for me, but it's a fucking lot, man.
Yeah, I bet. And yeah, that's one of the things is once I have the land, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to do something with it. So that'll be interesting. But
so that goes on like my body, you know, of the body that they're poisoning us. But then we go into like the psyops of like I don't know, tranny shit or pick your cultural role model, and like they're controlled, you know, like this Andrew Tate guy who's like now the beacon of masculinity, and I'm like, no, you're just an asshole, man. Like he's like a cam girl dude that like slaps girls around, and it's like, no, that's not how a man's supposed to be, man. Like you're supposed to protect the women, you know. You're supposed to, yeah, you're supposed to be strong, and you know, you're supposed to have that violence, the capability of violence, but the capability of violence isn't directed towards the women. That doesn't make you a strong man. That's what needs to be
right.
rooted out.
Yeah, there's so many ways to handle a woman without getting violent with her, and even just you know, redirecting her or restraining if you need to is a lot better than violently reacting. And you know, but the old line is something along the lines of if she's gonna hit me like a man, she's gonna get hit back like a man. But she wasn't hitting him like a man either. And
if she's gonna hurt you, bud, then you're probably a pussy, you know. Like you gotta break your hand on my head before you hurt me, darling.
Right.
Go ahead and swing away, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I had an ex that would hit me, and I would just laugh at her every time she did.
Yeah.
Don't date women like that, guys. And
yeah, I agree, but that's the psychological aspect of the Zoomers. If their role models are this fucking clear piece of shit in that way, or this tranny whatever the fuck dude that wears makeup, I mean, good luck.
So saying hello to our friend Aberrant in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you. But yeah, there's so many things that are going on at this point. And so they've got the programming with the television. They've got the food, the water, they're just putting it in everything. And then they're really, I think every problem is a spiritual problem. And I think that this taking God out of everything has led to this as well.
Yeah, some sort of spirituality, whether it's, you know, I'm not sure where I fall under this, but it with no spirituality, you can't have long time preference. You can't. Why would you build for something? Because you're just a meat suit, you know. Go have fun in your meat suit. If you do believe in whether it's, you know, a creator or just generational, like I want to build a better life for my daughter so she can build a better life for her, you know, kin. Then I can think in long term and actually build society, you know, build civilization. It takes a lot of men like us to get to where we are now, and it doesn't take a lot of generations for this all to crumble, you know. And I think we're right at the beginning of that.
Yeah, I think we could see it crumble really at any time, just because there's a whole bunch of people that can just press the button but we were led to places where it's gonna fall like dominoes. So they've just kind of set it up to where it's got crumple points. Whenever a car wrecks and it doesn't crumple a certain way, it crumples in on itself. They put little weak points in the car so that the wreckage won't be all random or anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that they've put crumple points throughout society. So we're gonna see certain things fall out in that way.
What's the first crumble point?
Well, what I mean is that whenever,
no, I know,
for instance,
I understand what you're saying, but
yeah.
But like, what specifically are you thinking of? Like food or I think the energy system is actively being attacked.
I could see that. I think one thing about energy, that the saving grace of it is that they want us tuned into TikTok and whatever nonsense that we can just start our heads into, because they want us all in that I don't think that they'll shut down the power grid first. They might use it when they want to for certain purposes, but I don't think that they want people off of the screens that they're addicted to.
That's a good point. You know what I was just thinking of? Was it Cuba that they had such a good literacy rate so they could make sure they were able to read the propaganda? It may have been Cuba, but it's along the similar lines that we need to have people on the screens so they can constantly consume the latest psyop.
So that was the conversation that Pete recently had with Buck Johnson of Counterflow. Pete Quinones and Buck were talking about Edward Bernays' book Propaganda.
Yeah.
And he was saying that the literacy rate needs to be at a certain level so that they can consume the propaganda. So yeah, but I don't think it was specifically Cuba, but
right. But now the literacy is the TikTok and the Fox News and whatever, Twitter, I guess.
So coming from radio, they told me in FM that you should speak to the audience as if they have a 4th grade education, and in news they said 8th grade education. So you shouldn't expect your sophistication out of your audience, and also that there's no bar to reach to. What's funny is I overheard a bunch of NPR the other day, and this is the pseudo intellectual. These are the snooty kind of people that think that they're smart, they can use big words and everything. That stuff was dumb. I can't believe. Sorry, there's some noise in the background.
Yeah, my dog's home. I'm sorry. Yeah. When you said the 8th grade, my first thought was 8th grade when my grandparents were in 8th grade, or 8th grade now, and like going forward as well. 8th grade 10 years from now is going to be pretty bad. Actively dumbing us down.
Yeah, and what's amazing about it too is that I think it was 8th grade that my dad dropped out of school, and he's pretty smart. So and knows a lot about a lot of things, and so I'm thinking that the education must have been better than had to.
Well, if you think back too, like weren't all the founding fathers, like Patrick Henry was like mid-late 20s when he gave Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death, and he was already like, I believe he was a surveyor. Or was he an attorney? They made him better back then, and now it took me 30 years just to feel like I could go out and contribute. Never mind, some of these.
You guys, I was listening to the episode you did on Union of the Unknowns, and y'all were talking about how in old movies that people in their 20s would seem like such an adult. They would seem like old men to you, even now. I'm in my 40s. I'm looking at people in their 20s, and I'm thinking that that's an elder, and it's not.
it's embarrassing, honestly.
Yeah. But all we can do now, we can't look at all the choices that we've made that led us here. Yeah, it seems that you've started making the right ones, and I'm gonna try even more so at this point, and go from there. That's what all of us have to do, and not beat ourselves up necessarily about all the things that led here. We can see all the things, the feminism, all of the things that we bought into, and we can see it more clearly, and so we know what to avoid.
Yeah, I chew this over. I mean, this has been on my mind for months now. And I always get back to like, well, you can control what you can control. It's scary, but keep on fighting, keep on pushing, and that's all you can do.
You got blood in your veins and air in your nostrils. You can do.
That's it.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you, Toons. Thanks for
it's good talking
stopping by. Yeah, it's always fun. And
dropping black pills
as usual. Love it. All right. Real quick, tell everybody how to find Union of the Unknowns, and I'll talk to you after.
Yeah, Union of the Unknowns is on Twitter, and then we're on whatever podcast app you use. The episode we were referring to is number 13. I led it. Hope I did okay doing it, but check us out.
Thanks, y'all.